If I may, first of all, to say that I want to thank Professor Alwani, because it's very rare that one can hear this type of discourse. Of course, it implies that we're capable of hearing it and that we have the intelligence to comprehend it. God willing, your words did not fall upon uncomprehending ears. And that those of you who are visiting Iran and are not aware of the human resources for philosophical discourse in Iran, you should feel privileged to have the opportunity to listen to Professor Alwani. Maybe years from now, when you're older, you'll be telling your students that you heard Professor Alwani.
Thank you very much. I hope that you were here and I was there and we would listen to you also. Because Professor, I'm sure that they're a very distinguished professor. I know Professor Karim Karor is a very, very learned. I wish that I also sit here and listen to you, because I know that you have very, very, very rich and also very deep ideas, and also friends here, present here. I know that.
However, there were some points I would like to comment on. First of all, the very important stress you gave on the link of hearing and comprehension in the Quran is absolutely a fundamental issue that has to be appreciated, and that it can be substantially supported and expanded by looking at old Arab pre-Islamic evidence, where the notion of sam'a and aql are very close. The old orators and khatibs and the hukama of the ancient Arabs, they had a phrase that they said when they wanted to begin. You remember what Julius Caesar said? Lend me your ears, right? Well, they used to say, Ya ayyuhan nas isma'u wa i'qilu. Isma'u anni wa i'qiluhu. Aw isma'u wa'u. From wa'a ya'i. Yes. And that's what the Prophet said.
وَإِذَا مَا سَمَعْتُمُ وَإِذَا Ibn Arabi says وَإِذَا مَا سَمَعْتُهُ فَأُوا.
In German, they have a technical term for this. They call it Weckruf, the hearing formula. It's a standard feature of sapiential discourse in ancient Middle East and in the Greek sages and in Babylonia. People began the oration by calling for attention and by asking people to sharpen their attention, to heed what they say. So samma is a matter of heeding, as you said, give ear. But it's a matter of giving ear in the sense of inner attention and understanding.
Yeah, not only physical ear. But
ancient Sumerian had as its symbol for understanding or wisdom a little picture, a symbol of an ear. So, and of course some people would say the Semites privileged the auditory way of oral understanding over the visual way, which is the Greek. I mean, I don't want to get into that, but this is a fundamental feature of the Quranic understanding of aql, and it was expanded and became a central feature of early Muslim meditation on intelligence, that listening and comprehending is part of the rational process, because it has to do with the inner attention of the person. And therefore, aql in many ways has to do with a perceptive, knowing effort to comprehend and understand, which is partly involving samma as much as basar and anything else. So it involves your organism. So already there's a physical or instinctive part to knowing or to understanding. And so if we look at it from that point, it's not a simple mental operation as it has become in modernity or since the Enlightenment, but knowing, comprehending, understanding involves all of us. And it also involves our faith, our affective part. The junud of aql involve many aspects of human emotion. So that in order to truly understand and comprehend, you have to have a sound physical organism with instinctive faculties operating well. You have to have a healthy emotional personality and makeup, and you have to have a sound, sharp intelligence that can work together, and together the three parts can produce the fourth part of the human being, if you will, the highest part of the human being, when the three subparts work together to produce the full functioning human understanding. That in a way is part of the secret of aql. So I appreciate your emphasis on that. In my own work, I uncovered this. There's a lot of material you can quote, and we'll just start with the Prophet's Hajjat al-Wada. Ya ayyuhan nas isma'u anni wa a'qil qawli. And that's what he was doing. He was talking in the same way. Listen to me and understand. Because many times people listen and they don't understand. And the people who want to communicate important things ask you, please, listen and understand. And if you have a child and you want him to understand, you often say that. You say, listen to me when I talk to you. Understand what I'm telling you. Because you want them to act on your advice or counsel. Because it's not just another word that you want them to hear. You want them to take it into their life and act on it. So that's part of the structure of Quranic aql is very much involved in this, which is why it's...
So to other parts which fiqh and others, and still there are other things I've recorded which I provide in footnotes later. Other elements. I mean, it should be taken comprehensively.
And you made a very important point too. I mean, I'm only supporting what you say about that you have to look at the notion of aql in the Quran in a extended way in contact with many other notions that come together. Besides fikr, tadabbur, ta'aqqul, and you also have...
An ibra, fa'tabiru, i'tibar.
As I was going to point out tomorrow in you have a number of very important passages like Surah An-Nahl, where you have a series of cognitive operations occurring where aql is linked with dhikr, which leads to shukr. Now this is very important.
And this is one of the 75 junud. 75 junud.
The Quranic context, you have many places. I'll just mention a few of these.
And virtue, for example, we say virtue, amal saleh, all of these.
True intellection or true exercise of one's comprehending faculty leads to a response. Then you have remembrance. Then you have thanks. Now that's the highest result of intelligence. Or in another few passages later in the same chapter, you had samma coming before aql, which leads to fikr, which results in yaqeen. They didn't have to check the Quranic index or go online. It was built in. Nowadays we have to overcome that because we no longer have that facility in our modern, super advanced, superior condition. We are more ignorant of these things, actually. So this is a very important point that you make, to spread the context out and to take in a whole variety of things. Izutsu's method is fundamental. Izutsu actually taught this to modern-day Muslim intellectuals. Yes. And we're all indebted to him, and he was, in fact, in a way, a Muslim sage underneath. So
take everything together.
Yeah. And there's much you can glean from this. Now, your discussion of the Greek philosophical heritage, and you're posing this question, did Muslims have the right to inherit the Hellenic legacy, is very important. And as you know, has led to conflicting and contradictory responses over centuries, and even today is highly debated. And we appreciate your philosophical defense, because it's worth listening to when so much attack is being given. Yes. And we must also remember that now this issue about the genuine legitimacy of the Hellenic intellectual and spiritual heritage as part of Muslim experience has become abused and wrapped up in regional, political, and geostrategic rivalries that involve the United States and Saudi Arabia and Iran and Pakistan and I don't know what else, who are accusing each other of, for example, we get the line now, Islam is really Arab and Sharia conscious, and those Iranians who are Shiites and do hikmah are not good Muslims because falsafa is bid'ah and we shouldn't go there and get involved in that because it's against Islam. This is what we're hearing now. And the people who say this are going around and then blowing up others and killing them. So it's an excuse for abuse. So we have to be aware of the context. Am I making myself clear? That this philosophical issue is very important today.
This can be made even the subject of a book. this can be made, really.
The subject of a film or something, I don't know. Anyway, that's my understanding of the situation. It's very important, and we have to pay attention, and we have to educate others about this. When people start repeating, well, Shiites are no good because they do philosophy and that's heretical, we have to put the foot down and say, well, then you're an ignorant ass and you should be quiet. We would like to listen to people who are informed and have intelligent views. But to repeat stupid things like that and encourage people to do acts of violence is not an Islamic position. It should not be tolerated by other Muslims. That's my feeling about it. And I'm not a Shiite, but I don't feel that it's right to kill anyone in the name of God, like so many Muslims seem to be doing these days. I'm sorry to intrude this issue in this discussion, but philosophy has consequences. It has real life echoes, so we should be aware of that. Did I say something that upset anyone? I hope I did not.
I'm just curious, where is political violence being directed at Shias as a result of Shiites adhering to a need for pursuing philosophy within their curriculums?
Well, you're supposed to be a student of the modern Middle East. Do you know what's going on in Iraq and Pakistan?
But it's a result of philosophy?
It's a result of considering the Shiites alien and
I know that.
And one of the ingredients in the mix is that they consider the things that Shiites do, such as the intellectual traditions, which they entertain, to be opposed to true Islam, which they define as an Arab-centered, Sharia-conscious type of religion.
I didn't know it had to be
I'm exaggerating a bit, but you see my drift?
I see where you're going.
Okay. So, I had to get that off my chest, because I think it's an important issue, and you touched on it yourself. Now, involved in it also is this Ghazali issue, which you came to at the end. Forgive me for going on so long.
We should reevaluate everything. You see, because they fought for themselves, and we have much more. Many things which they do not have this disposal, and we should. And war doesn't want us to imitate our fathers and the way of our fathers. Lakum ma kasabtum. What is what you acquire, and for them. And doesn't accept the argument, those that our fathers did that. They had many problems. We should not transfer their problems to us. We have many problems of our own now. We have many problems of our own. They should not, their problems, which are very, very, if they are not rational, if we think that they are not rational, we should not transfer. And I think Ghazali, I like him. But Ghazali is not, for some people, he's everything. And even they say that if God wanted to choose a prophet, they say that he would choose Ghazali. I wouldn't say that.
Ghazali was your countryman and spoke your language.
Now, this is the genius of Iran. This was the genius of Iran. That he produced Ghazali was not influenced by him. That produced a very great thinker, but that was never influenced, and immediately in the span of 50 years, they surmounted him. That is, Ghazali, Sohrawardi took everything from Ghazali which was positive, and it just, let's say, made it part and parcel of his wisdom, as wisdom philosophy, not a theology.
You forgive me, Ezra, I just complete my chain of thought. You raised the paradox, which to me is an existential, anguishing question I've been struggling with, given the importance of aql in Quranic teaching and in hadith, which we've seen a little bit, but there's a lot more. Why so much opposition to it in anti-rationalism and even anti-intellectualism in Islamic thought? And then you have, again, held up the dogmatic theologians as partly to blame.
Many things, many elements. Part of them, pose the question. I given some answers which can be in one day, and also very shortly. But this problem is a very important problem. We should ponder over and give our answer to.
Dr. Pazuki yesterday also, he gave us a presentation on Rumi and Ibn Arabi, and also implied directly that dogmatic theology has been an obstacle for Muslims in this respect in terms of the acceptance and pursuit of a high form of intellectual spirituality. I think, am I correct in saying he was very frank about that. Of course, he himself is committed to a Sufi perspective, and we understand that. He wanted to bring the Sufi perspective to us, saying that Sufi intellectuality is central to Islam. It's not marginal, and one of